What started as a professional rivalry over who the best magician was turned into an all-out obsession when Criss Angel realized he was living in the shadow of David Blaine. On radio shows and in interviews, Criss was always quick to throw shade at David.
You know what's kind of funny is David Blaine, which, I give him a lot of credit for what he's doing, but is known because of who he dates. I want to be known for what I do.
Oh.
Criss even dedicated an entire television segment to mocking Blaine, using a full hair and makeup team to transform himself into his arch nemesis to sell the joke. Years of tension kept building until Criss finally decided to confront David face to face backstage, and Blaine's response was more brutal than anything Criss Angel could have imagined. David Blaine had a vision for magic that nobody else did at the time.
Honestly, I did never know that they was beefing. I just thought they was two magicians doing their things. That's all. And I like back in the day, I don't know which, I think it was Criss Angel's. David Blaine, he's more for like stunts. Like he submerged himself underwater for 7 days or some crazy shit. Like he do stunts like that. Criss Angel, he was more of like the magic trick, the cards and the levitating and all that type of crazy shit. But David Blaine, he was more like for doing crazy stunts and shit. He was like the modern day Houdini. You know what I'm saying?
Magicians relied heavily on visual spectacles, big sets, elaborate props, flashy costumes, and exaggerated theatrics designed to overwhelm the audience. David did the opposite. He wore plain clothes, was emotionless in the face, and gave small, focused crowds of people magic on the street for free. Stephen Chow, a former Fox executive who was chosen to produce Mr. Blaine's special, put it this way: "He's the only magician I've seen who wasn't a geek. Blaine's approach made every trick feel personal and more real. It wasn't happening on a stage far away, it was happening right in front of your face." He famously said in 1997, "The reason for magic is to enlighten people or make them happy, or let them forget their problems for 2 minutes." David's style and his mindset were authentically humble, and it made him stand out. He walked around New York City filming himself performing tricks for regular people and tried to pitch it to television networks. ABC executives decided to take a chance on him, and it paid off. David Blaine's street magic was packed with tricks and illusions, like when Blaine twisted his hand around several times in front of a licensed doctor outside a local hospital.
Like I never watched Criss Angel that much. I used to watch David Blaine, the street magic show. I used to watch that show. Criss Angel, I know about him, but I never watched too much of his stuff.
This way, facing towards you. The other way. Turn to the left. Yeah, more to the left. Twist it so it's straight. All right, now move your foot back a little bit so you can see this. Okay. Twist your hand inwards a little bit. Like this. Go ahead. Okay. Inwards a little bit, slowly. A little bit more. Right. Here's where it starts to get painful. With your left hand, can you grab my right hand? My fingers?
With my left hand?
Yeah, grab my fingers and twist them a little bit more.
Okay.
Yeah. Keep going. Keep going. Ow. Keep going. A little bit more.
You alright?
Yeah, keep going. Ow. No. No, keep going. Keep pushing. Keep going. Yeah. I want to keep going.
Hey, David,
keep going. No, keep going. Keep going. You hear that crack?
The show became a resounding success not just because of the tricks, but rather the stunned responses from each small audience.
13. All right, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. See, as soon as you connect it, that's when it happens. See, where's the card? See what I'm saying? They switch it from hand to hand. That's what it is. Here, look, check it out. Watch like this. Ready? Look, watch. Watch this. Ready? Just watch this move. Look. No, look. Watch. Look. Here's the switch, right? It's right here, right? All right. See that? That's the move, right? Yo, I'm gonna give you something. Hold this. I got something for you, man. I got a little treat, like a present for you.
However, a lot of practicing magicians were not too fond of David. In a moment of bitter jealousy, Jamie Ian Swiss, a magician and columnist for the Genie Magic magazine, said, "His only skill is removing money from a wallet and handing it to a person behind the counter." David refused to respond to the hate because ultimately he was successfully completing his mission of making magic accessible to as many people as possible. And in doing
like a lot of these other magicians, they wasn't doing it, so they're gonna hate. Like Criss Angel, I heard her name, but I never watched much of his stuff. David Blaine, he was like out there. Like he was the one that made me like really start watching magic tricks and magicians and stuff like that. And see, I was like, this shit is crazy. Like I always wondered, how is he doing this in front of people's faces? Because most magicians, they're on a stage, they're far away. You really can't tell what's going on behind the scenes. In your mind, you're like, this is probably fake. It's some type of trick or some type of stunt going on. You don't know how, but that's what you're thinking. But he would be like a foot away from right in your face doing this shit. And it's like, how the fuck you did that? And I used to be like, is this fake? But I doubt these look like random people. I doubt these don't look like actors. You know what I'm saying? A lot of them look like genuinely regular people, and they just like, what the hell is going on? I can't believe this dude just did this in front of my face. And I'm like, how did he do that? So I used to always think he was real.
So he actually made it cool to a mainstream audience. Now there was another magician called Criss who had actually been trying to make magic look cool for years, but the harder he tried, the more it started to work against him. But before we dive deeper, Criss had been doing magic longer than David Blaine, but was less popular. A lot like Blaine, Criss spent most of his early magic career performing for small audiences, but he genuinely felt like a career magician by the age of 14, performing at small birthday parties and entertaining guests at a Long Island restaurant. But his initial motivation to do magic tricks for others wasn't exactly as humble as David's. I felt this incredible sense of power that an adult didn't understand how it worked, but I did. In 1987, he launched a public access magic show called Hot Kicks. 20-year-old Criss looked and dressed like a Guns N' Roses tour groupie. In 1994, Angel made his primetime television debut in the ABC one-hour special, Secrets. Through the mid to late 90s, Criss appeared on various television specials and talk shows, using these spots to showcase his edgy rock influence.
And I think that's what it was too. I guess when Criss Angel was doing his thing, because I was born 92, he was doing this as like the early 90s is when he was popular on TV and stuff like that. I was a kid, so I wasn't watching this shit. David Blaine, he was like more around the time when I was like hip to what was going on in the world, and I started watching him. I used to see his stuff on TV. Criss Angel, I think he's a little bit older, so I didn't see in the 90s. I wasn't watching no fucking magic on ABC.
Take on magic. He leaned heavily into the dark magician image. Gothic leather clothing and heavy metal soundtracks complemented the grungy aesthetic of the 90s.
I thought magicians were very cheesy, quite honestly. I was much more about the generation of MTV, Zeppelin and some of the 80s bands and music and that culture and that vibe and that energy that you got from it, and magicians weren't doing that.
Now, there was no structured career path to being a successful magician. Unlike musicians or actors, magicians didn't have a thriving mainstream pipeline. There were no Netflix specials, no social media clips to go viral overnight, and TV networks only greenlit magic shows sparingly. If you weren't already a big name magician, such as Copperfield or Penn and Teller, you had to get extremely creative.
David Copperfield too, he's another one I heard of. There's certain people, like, you just hear their names, you don't know what they do. Like David Copperfield, I've never watched him. I'm pretty sure he's from a different generation, but I heard of the name.
To market yourself and make money. And for someone like Criss, who basically wanted to be the first rock star magician, the market was even narrower. Despite the odds being stacked against him, Criss had an incredible drive. He was well into his 30s, still fully dedicated to making this dream into a career. Meanwhile, David Blaine rapidly passed him in popularity. Blaine's ABC show made him a household name, and he quickly shifted from simple card tricks to unbelievable endurance stunts that blurred the line between illusion and human survival. Unlike a magic trick where there's some secret method behind the illusion, Blaine's endurance feats felt brutally real. Although certain precautions are set to ensure that he doesn't die, there's no obvious trick to things like being buried alive, which is a stunt Blaine dedicated to his idol, Harry Houdini, who was buried 6 feet underground without a casket almost a century earlier. In 1999, David spent 7 days sealed inside of a glass coffin under a water tank in New York City. His friend Bill Kalush initially suggested that he fake the stunt, but Blaine refused because he thought it would actually be easy.
So we got a coffin from Queens where actually Houdini was buried. I bought a coffin, we brought it back to his house, and then I would just practice sleeping in the coffin. Then suddenly then suddenly I realized you don't eat food, and then if you have a little thing to go to the bathroom, I did 4 days like nothing, so I'm like, okay, I can do a week.
Blaine did not eat for 2 weeks before the stunt, but continued drinking water prior to and during the stunt. He was sealed in a see-through coffin beneath 6 tons of water. Oxygen was transferred in and out of the holes above his head. A cath
I don't think I could do that. That's like me just chilling in the closet for 4 days. Even if I could lay down. And that, I'm not claustrophobic or anything, but just being in that tight space for that many days, that's crazy, dog. That take a different type of mental fortitude to where you could just be outside of your body for you to be able to do something like that for 4. That's insane. Insane. 4 days you just in a car. Just by yourself with your thoughts. Oh my God, I couldn't imagine. Dog.
catheter was inserted into Blaine's bladder to safely drain any urine, and spectators could come and go whenever they wanted. He said people would shine flashlights on him at 2 a.m. to make sure he was really in there. This was no trick. This was the real deal, but he took it even further. The following year, he executed his frozen in time stunt. David Blaine was fully encased in ice in the middle of Times Square while lightly dressed in a long-sleeve shirt, pants, and a beanie. He had a tube that supplied air, water, and another that removed urine. The ice was transparent and elevated so people could see that he was inside the entire time. He couldn't sleep or move because touching the ice for too long would cause frostbite. He just had to stand there, freezing, alone with his thoughts. Around hour 55, his eyes went out and he began hallucinating. He was talking to imaginary people, felt like spiders were crawling all over him, and said that minutes took hours to pass by. On the brink of death, medics were forced to remove him from the ice after 63 hours. This time, the critics were silenced. There was no way to fake this. Whether you saw it on TV or in real life, you knew this guy was on a different level. What's interesting is that almost immediately after Frozen in Time, Criss Angel performed a somewhat similar stunt. He spent 24 hours submerged in a tank of water, also in the middle of Times Square. Now at the time, Criss wasn't known for endurance feats. He was actually still promoting his theater show, Criss Angel Mind Freak, off Broadway, and reviews were not so great. Though in interviews...
That Criss Angel Mind Freak thing, I heard about that. I did hear about that. That probably was like the early 2000s too. Mind Freak. Something like that, I think it went. Yeah.
Angel has poo-pooed the cheesy nature of standard magic shows. His disappearances, quick changes, and levitations are really standard Blackstone Copperfield stuff. A bit of a letdown considering the impressive costumes and postmodern flashiness. Criss's career was headed in the wrong direction, so is it fair to assume that he may have taken inspiration from the guy who was getting worldwide praise in the same field? In 2002, Criss put himself in handcuffs and shackles, then submerged himself underwater in a cramped chamber. The entire time he breathed through an air hose and occasionally interacted with spectators through the glass. And of course, in the video edit, they had to include someone saying that David was inferior to Criss Angel.
I think he's better than David Blaine in my opinion.
However, even though Criss's challenge was physically demanding, it lacked the life or death edge that Blaine's challenges carried. In his post-stunt interview, he seems entirely fine and full of excitement and energy. Then, in a moment, he is seemingly lifeless, being hauled into an ambulance.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, everybody, very much. New York is the greatest place in the world! New York City rocks!
Even if someone thought Criss and David might be neck and neck when it comes to who can push the limits of the human body further, David would quickly prove that there was no competition.
I remember this one.
In the middle of Manhattan, Blaine stood atop a 2-foot wide pillar nearly 10 stories tall for 2 days and 2 nights. No food, no water, no sleep, and nothing to sit or lean on. There was also no safety net or precautions set in place in case he fell. Most people could not stand for 35 hours straight, let alone being 100 feet in the air, constantly battling the wind. In his 2003 stunt, Above the Below, he'd be confined in a 3-foot by 7-foot by 7-foot transparent plexiglass block suspended 30 feet in the air in London. His goal was to stay in this box for over a month with no food, access to bathrooms, just enough resources to survive, and he lasted 44 days.
This has been one of the most important experiences in my life.
I mean, that one doesn't seem as bad because you could kind of see it's a little bit more space. You're not like trapped underground in a tight, cramped space. So that one doesn't seem as bad, but 44 days is crazy. just in that box by yourself, just up there with your thoughts. Oh no. The craziest one was just standing up for 2 days on that little pillow. I couldn't do that. I would have died. After a few hours, your body, your back, everything start hurting. Just standing up, no.
One more in that little box that I have years.
With each new stunt, David Blaine proved he was not tricking people, but testing the body and spirit in front of millions. He wasn't just a magician, he was an artist, receiving worldwide recognition and praise. Interviews on mainstream talk shows, fans across the globe, and superstar girlfriends like Kill Bill actress Daryl Hannah. Blaine made magic interesting and respected on a mainstream level, proving to networks that audiences were entertained by it. So when A&E took a chance on Criss Angel's reality TV show called Mind Freak, it was clear that they wanted their own magic star to capitalize on this cultural wave. However, Criss could not compete with David's level of dedication. Blaine treated his stunts like scientific experiments, spending months or years training with world-class doctors, freediving experts, and neurosurgeons to understand the limits of the human body. Every second of his preparation was real, and the risks could have cost him his life. Criss, on the other hand, was producing dozens of Mind Freak episodes per year, and the further you look into the formula behind it, the more you realize it is the furthest thing from magic. Criss Angel blew the minds of anyone under the age of 12 with the release of his show Mind Freak. He accomplished incredible stunts like walking on water in a hotel pool filled with people. There's absolutely no way that there could be some sort of plexiglass bridge to help him with this stunt, or when he levitated from one building to another, and he did it in front of people. Or my personal favorite, when he told this little girl that he would transform into a 10-year-old boy by sliding down this slide at a playground.
Maybe I could be 10 years old again.
How'd you do that? Magic.
Criss Angel also consistently claimed that he could walk through solid objects, such as doors or closed windows.
I've proven that a solid can pass through a solid. I've demonstrated it literally when I passed through a storefront window. Now watch. Hit it. Really, check it out. As I passed through a taxi cab. Go!
He would tell you to look, but then cover up what you are supposed to look at in the name of magic. Him walking through a metal fence was one of the most egregious examples.
Nigga, move that shit. Let me see.
And of course,
I remember this. I don't like that. I mean, because let's keep it real. It's not real. So I don't know how they're doing it. Somehow they're doing it. It's not real. You obviously can't walk through glass without breaking it, and then it's a solid. You can't float. You can't do these things. I don't care what nobody says. You can't physically do it. It's impossible. So there's something to it. How you're pulling it off, I don't know. I guess that's part of the trick. So you can't like actually see how. I don't know.
A magician is never supposed to reveal his secrets, but the problem is, magicians have an unspoken agreement with their audience. We know it's an illusion, but we also know it's possible with skill, misdirection, or ingenuity. Mind Freak didn't feature illusions you could admire or potentially recreate. It was nothing more than a product of crappy reality TV. The key components that made Mind Freak work had nothing to do with Criss Angel actually defying physics. Firstly, the show relied heavily on stooges, which is the term for paid actors pretending to be random bystanders who would gasp and scream right on cue.
And you could tell this is a fake crowd. You could tell these people aren't just random bystanders working around. It's like, oh my god. You could tell it's not real.
Camera effects did the rest. Strategic cuts, tricky angles, and edits that concealed wires, trapdoors, or entire set pieces. And sometimes these can be really interesting, like when he laid on this bed of nails and had an 8,000-pound truck rest on top of him.
I remember this one.
You know it's not real, but it does genuinely have you wondering how they did that. But they often got lazy. One of his favorite tricks was just putting a tarp over something and then making it disappear. It's such a wildly unimpressive stunt that is so easy to edit. It just leaves you to believe that this show was made for children. Like in this clip where he puts a bike underneath a tarp and you can see the bottom of the wheel, then in the next frame the shape looks entirely different and he magically makes the bike disappear.
Ow! Oh my god! Shut up!
Man, there's got to be something here. What are you looking up there for? Did that right now in front of my face.
I swear half of this show was just him covering things up with a tarp and making it disappear and then levitating to his next stunt. And then there were the Mind Freak consultants, which were basically just actors that were hired to provide testimonials that everything he was doing was real and high stakes.
There's real danger involved with this, and I try to talk him out of doing this. This angel is certainly one to help people escape from the everyday mundane with the stunts that he performs.
Criss has played with fire before, and he's not been burned. Maybe a little bit, but not enough to hurt and kill him. This time, he's putting himself in a situation. Why? Because it's not enough. It's that amping things up there.
As the seasons went on, the episodes got more insane, unbelievable, and uncreative. Like, look at this clip where he acts like a forklift went through his stomach. Or when he cut a woman in half.
Pull right now, let's pull. Pull!
This stuff was made for kids. I could see how kids could watch it and be like, "Oh my god, this is so great!" But as an adult, it's like, you know, this is fake. It's on TV. Basically, that means it's fake. Unless I'm there watching you do this thing with my own eyes, like seeing you do this, and I'm walking around looking under, and there's no mirrors, no break, then I'll believe it. But outside of that, you think I'm watching this shit on TV, and I'm like, yo, this is real. He really cut that woman in half. It's like, come on. This is for kids. Like, if you're a kid, 10, 12, 13, you might believe this stuff. And it might, even if you don't believe it, it's entertaining to you. But as an adult, you're just like, no fucking way.
He seemed to be obsessed with the idea that he could defy or cheat death. And so was David Blaine. But the difference was, David was actually doing it. Criss was just making it look like he was doing it. Now, was it wildly unhinged and entertaining TV? Yes. When Mind Freak aired in the summer of 2005, it drew in over 1 million viewers on average before peaking at 3 million during the third season's premiere. However, the biggest problem with the show is that Criss insisted so hard on presenting everything as authentic and real. Because when you hear him taunt and challenge David Blaine, it starts to make you think his ego got to his head. The beef started when Blaine attempted to break the world record for holding his breath underwater. The record at the time was just shy of 9 minutes. He could already do a few minutes easily, but his theory was that if he could spend 7 days submerged in a tank of water, his body would adapt to the conditions, and then he would remove the oxygen and escape from the tank slightly over 9 minutes to break the world record. After 7 days submerged in a tank at Lincoln Center, Blaine removed his breathing apparatus and attempted his escape. However, the movement of his body caused him to waste additional oxygen. He blacked out at 7 minutes 8 seconds and had to be saved, making the stunt a failure. Criss Angel took this moment to claim that David was copying his 24 hours underwater stunt from 2002.
Well, I think he just did something that wasn't so successful.
What, the orb thing?
In water. It was like, dude.
It's like, what? He's in a big, like, goldfish bowl for what? It was 2 days, 3 days?
It was a long time. The thing is, I did it already, and it's just weird why
and you did it more spectacular.
Whatever. You know, he's a good guy. I wish him the best.
You could tell he had been waiting for a reason to call him out.
You know what he's going through, and I just, for the life of me, I don't understand why he is doing something that's been done before. I don't know if he's running out of stuff.
Now, the two stunts were very different. Criss did 24 hours underwater just to make a grand escape, whereas Blaine did 7 days.
Yeah, we're not the same. I'm 7 times better than you. You did 1 day, I did 7 days, and I tried to break the world record for holding my breath. You didn't do that, pal.
Plus, he was trying to break the record for holding one's breath. And Criss's 24-hour stunt came after Blaine's stunt, where he was encased in ice for over 2 days. It is wild for Criss to compare the one time he did an endurance feat to any of David's, but he didn't stop there.
You know, just to cut to the chase, I respect David. You know, he is a creation of television and did a fantastic job doing what he does. I'm willing, and I've said this before, I think his biggest fear is me. Because I'm the real deal.
The guy who pretends he can fly and cut people in half for a living, who hires actors to react to it, and uses heavy special effects to create the illusion, calling himself the real deal, is bold. He also claimed that David talked badly about him in the press, and I looked extremely hard to find proof of that, but I could not.
I'm willing to put everything on the line because, you know, the truth of the matter is he talked a big game in the public about me. It was on the radio, and you know, but when it came down to it, we tried to contact him to set it up.
I know he was like, "Bro, I've never talked about this."
I'm just the type of person that, you know, what I do is what I say. What I say is what I do, and I just expect people to, you know, be the same. And unfortunately, he wasn't. But anytime, you know, I'm willing. I'll quit my career if I lose. I'm totally serious. I mean,
anything he'll do, you'll do.
Anything he wants to do, anytime, any place.
Criss was hellbent on having some sort of trick-for-trick magic duel like they were boxers in a ring. He insisted on turning magic into a competition, and no true magic fan is sitting at home saying, my favorite magician could beat your favorite magician. It's not like sports where you keep score and crown a champion. It's about creating wonder, mystery, and letting an audience suspend their disbelief for a moment. Plus, I found no evidence of this magic duel that he claims David was running from. He even had the audacity to claim that David Blaine, who was much more famous than Criss Angel, was only popular because he was dating superstar models and actresses.
You know, it's kind of funny is like, you know, David Blaine, which, you know, I give him a lot of credit for what he's doing, but is known because of who he dates. I want to be known for what I do.
What makes this criticism even worse is that Criss Angel was the one dating way more high-profile women. Britney Spears, Cameron Diaz, Lindsay Lohan, Paris Hilton, just to name a few. It was starting to look more and more like Criss was
damn, bro, I gotta get into the magic game.
David had performed for sitting presidents in the White House, like when he had a funny interaction with George Bush, shaking his arms and managing to steal his watch with some sleight of hand.
Say a number from 1. Well, think of a number from 1 to 20.
Yeah, got it.
Here, I got a present for you.
Was it 17? Right, it was 17.
Yeah. But I have a present for Mr. President. It's a...
Oh, God. I took my watch off.
Meanwhile, Criss Angel brought in a Barack Obama impersonator and acted like it was really him. David never responded to any of Criss's criticism, but Criss was on a warpath. He was determined to send a message to Blaine, something that he would have to respond to, so he dedicated an entire segment on his show Mind Freak to making fun of David Blaine. In the episode, Criss did a full hair and makeup transformation to make him look exactly like David.
No, this is some type of weird obsession now. This is like when you have a problem with somebody, you keep talking to them. It's like an ex-girlfriend or for the women, ex-boyfriend or whatever. They keep talking about you and hitting you up on Instagram and commenting on your picture. They just somehow keep you're always on their mind, but you not thinking about this person. You living your life, you happy, you chilling. Like, I'm not thinking about this person, but they always talking about you. It's like that girl that likes you, but you don't like her, so she keep hitting you and keep bothering you in school. It's like, bitch, leave me alone.
His stoic voice and demeanor in a way that made him seem boring and dry.
I don't know if I can get off. It's kind of hard. Watch.
Criss seemed really bent out of shape that people still talked about David Blaine's levitation illusion from over 10 years ago at that point. Criss is clearly upset that the only time people talk about his levitations, they mention how obviously fake they are. Are we really supposed to believe this man floated Shaquille O'Neal over a house? Like, what are we talking about here? Throughout the sketch, Criss set up multiple failed tricks to make it seem like David was terrible at the craft.
a card. Don't tell me what it is. Queen of Hearts. 7 of Hearts. I want you to think of that number and concentrate on it.
Okay.
The number you're thinking of is
so sad.
32.
And the reason why it's extra sad, this man has never mentioned you. It's almost as if to David Blaine, Criss Angel doesn't even exist. Like, I don't know who this person is. It's like he made a whole episode making fun of you. It's like, for real? I don't even know who that is. It almost seems like that, and that's more embarrassing. Like, this guy doesn't even know who you are.
No.
Criss Angel ended this bit by mocking David even further and claiming that his career was in shambles.
7101.
7101. That was the number I was thinking of. It's weird. I think I have to get up for free now because I was thinking in my mind 7101.
Why can't I get it?
I'm David Blaine.
I'm sure at this point you realize this was no rivalry. It was a one-sided obsession. Criss Angel was so fixated on David Blaine, and David just didn't care. Within the past 15 years since this episode released, David never once mentioned Criss in interviews, never clapped back, never even acknowledged him publicly. The harder Criss tried to tear David down, the more obvious it became that he was measuring his own worth against him. Angel wanted the recognition that Blaine had, which is silly because he was wildly successful himself. Mind Freak was a cultural phenomenon.
That's
His
what I'm
Las
saying.
Vegas
That's what it
residencies
seems
alone-
like to me. Like, he's pretty successful. He's making money. He's rich. You dating superstar chicks. What are you mad about? It's not like one man is so successful and you struggling. You've been doing it longer than him and you feel like you're better than him, but he keep getting all the recognition and the accolades. Bruh, you just as famous. Nah, I would say just as famous. But you're famous as fuck, rich as fuck, knocking down some baddies in the industry. What is the obsession with this dude?
Generated over $150 million in tourism revenue in a single year, and his global ventures, from touring shows to merchandise and magic kits, have contributed to a net worth estimated between $50 and $70 million. Clearly, there was plenty of room in the world for two magicians to be wildly successful, but Criss never let it go. They went in their separate directions for over a decade, both having successful TV shows, one where David does tricks like actually inserting a needle all the way through his hand, and one where Criss Angel still pretends to rip people in half. They both continued to have wildly successful Las Vegas live shows, but ultimately, after all this time, Criss Angel just could not get David Blaine out of his head. And recently, Criss would open up for the first time about his obsession on Steve-O's Wild Ride podcast, sharing that he always felt like he deserved to be on the throne.
Listen, David Blaine, I give props to. He came out, did street magic, blew up before I did. Give him all the props in the world. When he was coming up, I was very aggressive because I had a dream, I had a vision in my mind, I wanted to accomplish it. Whatever David is doing, I can do it. And I'll do it side by side with him. I guarantee you that whatever he does, I'll last longer, I'll do it better, I'll do whatever. Because I was committed to give my life to beating him or anyone else. Because I had something so bad that I wanted, and he had it. So he had a big target on his head.
This is the most honest Criss has been with himself in a long time. He admits that he saw David as a competitive target and that he had the status that Criss always wanted. However, he failed to understand that he created an extremely one-sided rivalry, which is why it was extremely awkward when he approached David Blaine backstage in 2023 after never meeting in person for their entire lives.
I saw him and I went to his show and I was like, dude, I just want to wipe the slate clean. I've never met you before, so I just want to...
I don't know, he's like, who are you? Obviously, all right, let's keep it. He probably knows who he is, but to him, there's no competition. He's super successful, you're successful, he's more successful, but success is success, dog. Whether my network is $150 million and your network is $70 million, who gives a fuck? You rich as fuck, I'm rich as fuck. We both living happy lives, dating baddies in the industry. What is the problem? What is wrong with you? I wonder what he said.
No hard feelings. Like, I apologize for anything that might have offended you or anything like that. I took off. I had a beautiful, beautiful ring, 20 G's. I took it off and I said, this is for you. And I said, let's build a friendship and stuff like that. Because I'm talking, this was in like the early 2000s that this went down. And I gave it to him and he's like, oh, I can't accept this because I'm a minimalist. And then he called his friend over and was like, hey, let's put it in a museum. You know, like, you could do whatever you want with it. I'm giving it to you. And then the guy comes in. He's like, oh, okay, thank you, Chris. I was like, well, I gave it to David.
Yeah.
If he wants to give it to you, that's his business because it's a gift from me. And then I was like, yeah, let's do a picture. And he's like, oh, I can't do a picture with just you and me alone. And it's just bizarre, dude. Like, just bizarre behavior. And it's like, dude, grow up.
Criss failing to understand why David wants nothing to do with him is peak delusion, and continuing to claim that it was David who was in the wrong is dangerous levels of coping.
Wasn't like we had a fist fight. It's not like we ever even met before. It's not like we ever even had a conversation on the phone. Nothing. It was just some banter in the press because I wanted to succeed. And, you know, he's ripped me off with stuff that I've done. You know, like I've been underwater for 24 hours, then he borrowed that, and then he did it later, which is totally cool. Like, God bless him. Like, it's not a big deal.
Criss Angel always wanted David Blaine to validate him as an equal or even as a rival, but David never gave him that satisfaction. Not once did Blaine clap back in an interview, never acknowledged him in the press, never even hinted that Criss was on his radar, and that silence spoke louder than anything. To David, there was no rivalry, no competition, nothing to respond to, and since Criss was incredibly successful himself, he had to sit there and justify why David wanted nothing to do with him. Oh, he must be the weird one. Oh, he is insecure about copying me. Or he is afraid of facing me in a magic duel. He spent years projecting his insecurities onto someone who just didn't care. David simply went about his career, unbothered. Criss thought that once they finally met in real life after over 20 years, he will get the response he wanted. And better yet, he could be seen as the better person for squashing the beef. But instead of finally getting closure, he was met with the same thing he'd always gotten from David Blaine. Nothing. And nothing stings more than realizing your greatest rival never even saw you as one.